Hi everyone, welcome to Alma Pilates Center. My name is Marisol, and in today's video, we're going to be talking about what to look for when you're purchasing a yoga, Pilates, or exercise mat. The reason I wanted to do this video is because I recently had a client transition from in-person privates to online virtual privates, and they purchased a mat that ended up being the exact opposite of what they probably should have purchased. And it took them some time to realize that and to admit that, and now they had to purchase a brand new one, and I want you to avoid the same mistake. Now, granted, it's a mistake that most people make because they don't really think that there's much of a difference between yoga and exercise or Pilates mats. Granted, a lot of mats are made by the same companies, they market them the same way, and there's a lot of people that use yoga mats for things other than yoga. First thing that I like to tell my clients is look for the thickness in your mat. And yoga mats tend to range anywhere from 2 millimeters to 6 millimeters. And if you're looking online for specifically an exercise mat or a gym mat, they tend to be even thicker than that. So what should you use? Is it possible to use one mat for all sorts of different things? And the answer is yes, but the one thing you want to think about aside from the thickness is what are you using most, or what are you using your yoga mat or your exercise mat mostly for? And when I bought my Manduka Echo mat, which is the purple one that you guys have seen so often in my original videos, that mat I bought about 6 years ago when I was primarily doing yoga, but I was starting to do quite a bit of Pilates, and I knew that eventually I would want to do the Pilates certification. And a lot of Pilates, especially mat Pilates, is on your back, on your side, and your joints need that extra little cushion for a lot of the exercises to feel comfortable or bearable, especially depending on the type of flooring that you're doing your practice on. And so I made sure that when I bought my yoga mat that it was 5 millimeters thick. And I find that the 5 millimeter mark tends to be thin enough for you to do standing poses or balancing poses in yoga and not be completely thrown off. But it's thick enough also for Pilates practice as well. Now, an exercise mat in that case would have been way too thick. My yoga practice would have been very, very difficult with an exercise mat because, again, they tend to be a lot thicker. They tend to be, of course, in an effort to make things a little bit more comfortable, especially if you're doing things like crunches on the mat or a lot of abdominal work. So keep that in mind. Now, one workaround for this is you can always buy 2 pretty thin mats and then just kind of double them up when you're doing Pilates and then take one layer off when you're doing yoga. Personally, I didn't want that because I knew I was going to be traveling with my yoga mat from studio to studio, depending on what it is that I was practicing. So I wanted one mat to be able to do it all. Another thing you want to consider, besides what you're going to be doing mostly on your mat and the thickness of the mat, is how much is grip important to your practice. Now with Pilates, because again, a lot of it is on our back, it's on our side, grip is important, but it's not the end-all be-all. Versus if you're doing hot yoga, grip is incredibly important, especially if you don't have a hot yoga towel, something that kind of absorbs sweat. So you want to look at the material of the yoga mat, and you want to look at how good is the grip of the yoga mat. Now, again, I teach in both Pilates and yoga, so because of that, I value grip in my yoga mat. I value the thickness in my yoga mat. I value the length in my yoga mat because I'm 5'10", so I'm a little bit taller. I like to be able to stretch out and feel like my yoga mat kind of covers most of my length as well, so that might be something that is important to you. And of course, the last, but probably the most important thing is your budget. Now, I'm lucky that I've come across all sorts of mats and all sorts of price points. Now, I personally stick to the Manduka brand, or at least the last few years I've stuck to their brand because I like their recycling program. I like that the mats that I have purchased from them, I've had for years. And in fact, the new green one that you might have seen in my recent videos, that's from the Manduka Pro line, and I can already tell that that is the mat I'm gonna have for years to come. Now, the purple Manduka mat, I did consider taking it through their recycling program, the Manduka, that Manduka offers, but I decided to keep that mat because it's in such good shape that besides like a few stains from me not cleaning after every single practice. But besides that, I can easily use that mat for years to come before having to recycle it. So that mat is actually at home. I use it for my private practice, and then the green Manduka Pro mat that I use here is specifically for filming. So I assume, and I'm really hoping, that I'll get to be able to use those mats together for at least a few more years. And that was really important to me. I don't want to just buy cheap mats that kind of fall apart. And trust me, I've bought in all sorts of mats and they almost always all fall apart within a very short amount of time. So that's my 2 cents. It's what I look for. Yes, Manduka is a little bit more expensive, but to me, if I get a few years at least out of them, that makes me really happy. Now, do you have to buy a super expensive mat? You don't. Like I said, I've tried all sorts of mats, and although some of them kind of gain a little bit of wear and tear quicker than my Manduka mats, they're still pretty great mats to purchase from. So either in the description box down below or in a blog post that this will probably be featured in, I'll go ahead and put some links to some mats that I've personally tried and that I have, so that you guys, depending on the budget that you're working with, can kind of decide, okay, this one has this thickness, it's this price, this is probably the mat. And I've tried these mats, I've filmed with them, I've used them in my personal practice, and I'm someone who does take classes quite frequently, so they definitely get some wear in them. And if you have any questions on mats or specific brands that you might be wanting to purchase from, please feel free to let me know. You can reach me on social media, you can reach me by email, or of course in the comment section of this video. I hope that answered a lot of questions, and I hope to see you in my next vlog. Bye.